Welcome back to Planet Coaster. We will be doing a rather quick episode today. I only really had time to finish one building and then throw in a decent amount of details here in the haunted section of the park. What we're going to be trying to accomplish is trying to put some overgrowth kind of over these buildings, trying to work in some heavy roots and vines going up the sides, come up with some little story elements as to what each building might have attached to it, be it some fenced in little side yards there with some wells and barrels with some additional elements going up the building. Of course, we'll be boarding up some of these windows as they need to look rather disused and abandoned. So basically, last episode we spent all this time making everything look nice and pristine. This episode we're going back in and making things look a little bit more rough and a little bit more worn down. And it might have been faster to do that while we're building, but the way I work is generally it's best for me to get my good foundation laid out, and then it's easier to go back in and carve out sections, overlay, and add detailing where you think is needed. So we'll be adding boards on the normal roofings, kind of pieces that aren't just thatch, and that will be kind of just splintered off shingles. Thatch pieces, we have this little bundle of straw that we'll be using kind of to inlay almost like a wound in the roof or some type of hole. And with a rock, because that's kind of a really dark texture, what you can do from a distance is it might look like there's an actual hole in the roof and it's just pitch black in there and blocking out all the light. That way you don't feel pressure to actually make a proper puncture wound. We're going to be doing a few of these houses this episode. I do skip around a little bit as this detailing is rather slow going. It's a long process of laying out little things, moving them around, and really the difference between them all is rather negligible. So there's not a whole lot for me to cover when it comes to this. You'll see some things. We'll cover pretty much everything near the end of the episode. We'll just go back through and show you some additional shots. This roof here, I actually was able to carve away a little bit of a section of it just so I can get a better shape and more interesting, maybe a little bit more dynamic than maybe I could have gotten otherwise. Also, we're going to be using red rocks on this thatch roof just to make it a different color, maybe something a little bit more warmed, possibly. And the ivy going up within the thorns and things, that's a very just nice overgrowth kind of feel to it. And then we even have some trees kind of poking up through the roof line itself, which looks pretty cool as well. This here is the main meat of the episode. We will be building a new stage, and the stage is kind of a cemetery themed, kind of a main structure here with a small stage. It's smaller than the previous one. As I said, that larger stage that looks a little bit more like a normal building is more of the main stage. This is just one of the side show stages. Renaissance fairs have a lot of stages to go visit. I'm not going to make a whole lot of different variations, but this one here is supposed to be graveyard-esque. The main building itself is kind of like a mausoleum style building here, and it does get changed. As starting out, I wasn't really feeling it, and so I kind of took a break from the building itself, made some detail pieces here. You're gonna need some gravestones to mark some graves around the seating area, and then even some spires, kind of like an obelisk type of structure here. So we're just building a base out of some of the windows using the backside because that's a good small piece to get a solid stone color. I was trying to figure out what to maybe put on top of it, and then decided that a window in all four directions, this kind of standard castle window, gave a decent top to this pillar here, and we'll attempt to maybe make a wooden kind of marker here and then go back in, because this marble is quite drastically different than most of the structure itself. So trying to cover that up with some more window backings. That's actually the arrow slit section. Saving those kind of markers as blueprints just for ease of access. And so we're just basically going to have 5 quick little pieces. Laying out some of the benches. Again, smaller stadium than the last one. This one's not even like a proper auditorium or anything. So the terrain isn't sloped. It's just flat ground over here. And just some smaller seats to the sides, kind of flanking out on the wings, and we'll even put a short, small wall surrounding the cemetery. A little bit extra detail, you know, something to really mark out the total area and make it feel more contained. And when you line this with shrubs, overgrowth, and vines, you get a pretty nice creeping effect kind of coming over the wall and everywhere else. Here is the rework of the front end. Notice my mausoleum was pretty plain on the front, and really I wanted to redo it. You'll find a lot of mausoleums kind of have a more Roman style kind of front, kind of this fake facade, and pillars holding up the roof line that kind of overhangs the door. So we're going to be using that style. Put the door back on, put some thicker concrete supports. I was thinking about making a different door, and here I decided to just kind of make a custom door. Something very large, kind of this 2-story tall door that wouldn't technically be openable in any sort of functional way. And we'll be kind of making our own handles and little trim on that itself to just make it look somewhat functional from afar. And the decorative arches on here, again, it's a rather straightforward build. It just took me a little bit of time to actually come up with a design that I liked. I don't know why I struggled so much with this one. I think I'm just inherently trying not to build Roman theme anymore. I mean, we already built a giant Roman themed park, and so it feels a little weird to kind of arbitrarily jump back into a theme like this again. But, you know, it works. So that's basically all we can hope for in the long run. The sides, kind of more battlement-like, you know, putting some turret kind of off to the side for some reason. I think that's just a random design choice, just to make the bottom look a little bit more beefy and a little bit more grounded, bulk that up. Here, putting in the grave markers and little obelisks around. Would like to put some fog machines in here or something, just so it looks a little bit more creepy, but again, we need to hold off on that SFX detailing until the park is 100% done. You know, we're already at 20 FPS on average, and I don't really want to sacrifice much more beyond just the base detailing. It's not very great for my computer, even at this point in time. So we're just adding in some of the overgrown elements within the bounds of the cemetery rather quickly here. It's not, you know, it follows kind of the base design decision, say, in the town, but inside the wall line more so than anything. Wrapping some ivy around and even throwing in some rocks to just roughen up the terrain in general. Was thinking about adding a ticket booth, possibly. That gets removed. I don't think it fit near the entryway at all. And so at this point, we're just going to kick it over to real time so you guys can see what everything looks like all coming together. Alright, so let's first start looking at the stage here. We're not going to have any overhangs on this thing. We're not going to have any major side doors or anything like that. Again, very basic, straightforward stage. You're going to find a lot of these in Renaissance fairs. Now, the haunted theme itself, you're probably not going to find that in a Renaissance fair. That's a little bit different. I think I'm just putting that in for more as we get close to October. I feel like it just kind of fits the month that we'll be heading into, and so having a haunted theme is more or less just a reason to take a break from everything else. We got some interesting stuff back here. You know, we got wagon wheels and things kind of being overtaken in vines and being wrapped around. A nice little simple facade on the front, and then you can overlay some of these effects here to kind of get different shapes and more fancy motifs. I do like the dragon one a whole lot, so I felt like that fit just fine. It's a simple kind of solid brick building. The outer wall itself is relatively short. You know, you want guests to be able to see over it as they're walking by. I didn't want to make anything too tall to block the vision of our people. And then a little bit of iron on top just for that extra kind of hardware look to it. The gravestones themselves, these are just windows basically facing each other so that you don't see the window section. All you see is a solid piece of stone here. And I think that works relatively well in our favor. I could even turn these obelisks into lampposts if I wanted to. I think that's something to maybe consider for the future. We do have a dead tree in here, again, to keep up with the theme, which might actually need to sink into the ground just a little bit. But let's go ahead and check out the village and how these details are coming together. It's a whole lot of vine work and kind of thorns kind of coming up through this roof here and really trying to make it look like it's popping out and then possibly coming back inside and kind of invading this building over time. Just a little bit of light detail around everything else, making it look overgrown but also clear and dead. Kind of a hard thing to try and balance, and you know, there's no real right way to do this. As long as it looks creepy, it's effective. This roof here, all the roots and things are kind of just popping out more so, and we even have some popping out of a window that might have broke, as all the nature kind of just went into this structure and started taking over and finding and chasing the light possibly coming out this window and then re-emerging. Here's a little kind of wagon overturn and even a cookery. Kind of wish that was turned off. Doesn't really make sense for that fire to be burning and all that dry brush. You would probably start a fire with that, but I think it looked cool. Something iron and a little bit more rustic in that section there. The other house that we kind of finished decorating around is this one. We did the side here, did all the roof elements and making that look well, even putting some elements to make it look like the boards are really bolted on there, and a lot of overgrown kind of darker leaves on the roof line itself. And you can even fit in the haunted trees just backwards to get these vines with other elements on them. And overall, things are really looking good. It's just looking more and more run down as we go through all of these pieces. The final detail section is here. Just another little yard with pots, a partially covered boat, partially covered like urns and things just sunken into the ground, and more vines going up the building itself. So I think that's going to do us for this episode of Planet Coaster. I'm going to leave you guys with just a little bit of an overview just because it's been a little while, so you can kind of see the scale of the whole park. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoy Planet Coaster, make sure to leave a like, as that is how I engage how well this series is received. Go ahead and subscribe if you're new. Check out my other videos as we cover building all of this magnificent scenery and structures. Go ahead and tell me what you think down below. And if you have anything you want fixed, changed, and or added, let me know that as well. So, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next episode.